Hello, I'm Chris Parker and welcome back to another album review. Today we're going to be looking at David Bowie's second studio album, 1969's Space Oddity. This album was actually originally self-titled, just like Bowie's previous album, but when it was reissued in the early 1970s, it was renamed after the first song of the album and given a new cover. I've already reviewed Bowie's first album as well, so I'd recommend checking out that video, and I will have a link to it in the corner right now, and I'll also have a link in the description below. I'm going to be going through each song one by one, and then afterwards I'll rate each song and give my final thoughts on the album as a whole. At the end, I'll also give my thoughts on the album's packaging, so I hope you will stick around throughout the entire video. Now, without further ado, let's go on to the song-by-song breakdown. Space Oddity is a song about a man, Major Tom, who becomes a celebrity as he goes to space. Despite having constant contact with ground control, Major Tom eventually loses contact with Earth and ends up stranded in space, being left to hopelessly ponder the vastness of space while awaiting the end. The lyrics strike the right tone between casual and techno-babble to help make the characters seem relatable, something which makes the song's ultimate tragedy all the more unsettling for the listener. The song has a good sense of progression to it, both tonally and musically, with there being several acts the song goes through, such as a shuttle launch countdown, solos, and the alternating dialogue between ground control and Major Tom. Space Oddity also shows how much Bowie's singing has improved from the previous album. On this song, Bowie plays the part of both the ground control and Major Tom. The ground control parts start off in a very professional tone during the launch sequence, before turning to a more excited tone when takeoff is successful. Eventually, the tone of voice on these sections turns to one of alarm when contact is lost with Major Tom. On the other hand, Major Tom's parts are more strained and filled with trepidation, and at times turns towards introspection. At the end, Major Tom manages to convey a sort of listless hopelessness that adds a lot of impact to the ending of the song. The instrumentation on this song is also a major step up from the arrangements on the previous album. You have a nice acoustic guitar throughout that every so often does a solo while swimming in otherworldly synths. The synth is put to good use to give the song an unsettling and spacey vibe. Space Oddity is, of course, Bowie's first classic and a song that opens the album well. While no other song in the track listing can come close to touching it in terms of quality, this song alone makes this album feel better than the preceding one, to say nothing of the improved quality of the rest of the songs. Unwashed and somewhat slightly dazed is a song where the unkempt main character is trying to woo down a better-off girl who has protective parents. There are plenty of songs with lyrics like this, but this song is a decent entry in the series. The song is delivered in a folk-rock manner, albeit straying towards the horror end of the genre. The electric guitar in the song has a nice bit of rock and roll dirtiness to the whole affair, and the playing is good as well. About 2 minutes into the song, a harmonica is also added, which works quite well with these lyrics, and adds to overall the feel quite well. The elements of the song might be somewhat forgettable on their own, but the musical arrangement was paired perfectly with the lyrics, which does help to carry some weaker aspects of both. While this album dabbles in folk acoustics throughout, Little to Hermione is the first explicitly folk rock song. The lyrics are a good love song, and the acoustic guitar is a good, if unadventurous, choice for instrumentation. Bowie does his best to sing honestly on this, and does a respectable job. Still, the fact of the matter is that David Bowie is somewhat miscast in his own song. Bowie's best love songs tend to have a hint of irony or sinister possessiveness to them, whereas this song seems a bit overly honest. Additionally, this could have been somewhat remedied by having an instrumental arrangement more befitting of Bowie, but at the same time, said arrangement would not have fit the lyrics as well as the one we got. The song is quite good, don't get me wrong, but does feel like a bit of an odd one out. It feels like it would have been better performed by a more honest Paul McCartney/Robin Gibb-esque type, rather than David Bowie. Signet Committee is an interesting song, and one that feels a bit prescient of the early 1970s Bowie. The performance and themes feel very similar to the songs on Bowie's next album, The Man Who Sold the World, and the lyrics also feel like a precursor to the songs of Diamond Dogs. Signet Committee starts out sounding like a love song, but quickly belies a darker meaning. The song seems to tell the story of a member of a cult who initially followed and loved a leader who the cult then dumped after he had solved their purpose in winning over people to their beliefs. After this, the song goes into description or even encouragement of various violent acts and chaos that happens under the cult. At the end, the cult member narrator seems to become disillusioned with the indiscriminate violence and proclaims his desire to live. The narrative is admittedly a bit hard to follow, but it's nothing else if not intriguing. I think the most interesting thing about the song's performance is the echo used on Bowie's voice at several points throughout the song, something that gives the song a very mysterious and creepy vibe. Otherwise, the instrumentation is good, but nothing unusual. The percussion is good, and so is the guitar, and they follow the different movements of the song quite well. Now, before we go on to side 2 of the album, I want to remind you that if you like this style of album review, to please like this video, comment below, subscribe to my channel, and be sure to hit that bell button as I'll be saying something out a great deal. Janine is a folk country rock song that is about a romance. Throughout the song, there's an implication that the narrator is scared of a relationship because of some vague mental problem he has, including split personality. This, unironically, sounds like a Gordon Lightfoot song. Bowie even does this deeper kind of voice throughout, which is kind of similar to Lightfoot. Sure, the lyrics are a bit overly brooding, and the upbeat shuffling instrumentation and the vocal style, though, really do remind me of Lightfoot for some reason. The song is good, sure, but once again, Bowie feels miscast. An Occasional Dream is an introspective folk song looking back on a previous romance that has ended. I quite like this song, and I think the strength of the lyrics makes this a great folk breakup song. The instrumentation is a combination of acoustic guitar and flute, something that fits the song well. While Bowie's personality still does feel a bit mismatched with the content of this song, I do think his vocal here works pretty well. The Wild-Eyed Boy from Free Cloud is some sort of fantasy song about a little village and how they give in to their biases and imprison a boy for no reason. Eventually, the mountain that the boy comes from decides to send down bulldozers to destroy the village and imprison the boy. I'm honestly not sure what the meaning of the song really is supposed to be, but it is a decent-ish genre exercise. Instrumentally, the song is orchestrated and has a lot of horns, and it's not really rock at all. Indeed, this song occupies the grey zone between the Moody Blues and Dragon Quest. The arrangement is decent enough, but not overly interesting, and really doesn't help the lyrics stand out either. God Knows I'm Good is another folk song. In this case, David Bowie puts on his Paul Simon hat and decides to look at a social issue through a vignette. The song is told by a narrator who witnesses a scene at a grocery store. An old woman shoplifts some food and thinks that because God knows she is good, he will overlook her transgression. The woman is scared about being caught, and eventually when she is, she collapses. As she is about to be arrested, she changes from hoping that God will look the other way because she is good, to hoping instead that God won't look the other way and help her. While the song never explicitly says that the woman is impoverished or struggling with food, the song's sympathy does seem to be with the woman, and there is an implication that arresting her over stealing a steak is ridiculous. While the flipping of the chorus at the end is smart, it isn't a great chorus in and of itself, and the song does not really stand out musically as much as it should. Additionally, Bowie's vocal on the song is merely passable and nothing too great. Memory of a Free Festival is a song that, while not explicitly about Woodstock, does seem to be trying to cash in on the Woodstock appeal. The song is basically a song about a festival and being peaceful together and psychedelics and happiness and whatever. The lyrics are awfully cliche. The opening part of the album is sung with only an organ for accompaniment. Eventually you get some random noises thrown into the mix, like somebody took the wrong lessons away from Revolution 9. At the end of the song, it devolves into a chorus of people singing happily the same happy little mantra over and over again, something which is pretty obviously inspired by the Beatles' Hey Jude. This ends the album on a derivative port of one of the weaker tracks, not the best way to go out, but still an improvement from last album's last track. For my final song rankings, I give Space Oddity, 10 out of 10. Unwashed and Somewhat Slightly Dazed, 7 out of 10. Little to Hermione, 7 out of 10. Signet Committee, 7 out of 10. Janine, the best Gordon Lightfoot song that isn't actually by Gordon Lightfoot, I give 7 out of 10. An Occasional Dream, 7 out of 10. The Wild-Eyed Boy from Free Cloud, 5 out of 10. God Knows I'm Good, 7 out of 10. Memory of a Free Festival, 5 out of 10. With the exception of Space Oddity, the songs on this album are nothing too terribly memorable. Well, they are, on the other hand, quite special in a way. Whereas Bowie's first album was one or two good ideas thrown in with a bunch of bad ones and then all wrapped up in poor production, this album sees a significant increase on all fronts. The only song that I would say is conceptually uninteresting is Memory of a Free Festival, and all the other songs are rather inspired in some way or another. Similarly, Bowie's vocal ability is much better than it was on the previous album, and he is really starting to come into his own here. Additionally, the arrangement is all quite good, and each song sounds like the backing fits the lyrics perfectly. The percussion is effective, and the electric and acoustic guitars are both great throughout. While the folk rock style of this album would soon shift into glam rock, this is far from a bad sound in and of itself. One of the biggest hurdles for me when listening to this album is that a lot of the songs just don't feel like David Bowie songs. I said earlier in the review that many of these songs feel like they should have been sung by other artists like the Bee Gees or Gordon Lightfoot. However, I recognize that this isn't anything inherently wrong with the album. The reason I feel this way is I know what comes later. I enter this album with a bias, expecting Bowie to be the dark, troubled rock star of albums like Station to Station or Low. Bowie is, however, not yet at that point. This is David Bowie, the youthful singer-songwriter who's more fairly compared to the likes of Elton John or Paul McCartney than he is to somebody like Lou Reed. Bowie is improving quickly, both musically and lyrically, but to fully enjoy most of this album, you have to in many cases learn to take it at face value. Nowhere is this more apparent than in honest love songs like Little to Hermione and An Occasional Dream, which are a full cry from the style of love songs we would see from Bowie in the 70s. Overall, I would say it's fair to give this album a 7 out of 10. While the last album felt like a fluke, this feels like a more proper debut from Bowie. Rough around the edges, but with some great moments throughout and consistent production. And before we finish up, as always, I do want to look at the sleeve. Now, as I said at the beginning of this video, this is the 70s repressing that has a different title. That's Space Oddity, as opposed to just being named after David Bowie himself. And it also has a different sleeve that is more Ziggy Stardust era David Bowie. It's a pretty good picture of Ziggy Stardust era Bowie. He's certainly got the hair. He looks somewhat dazed and slightly unwashed here, much like the second track on the album. And we've got nice kind of 60s or 70s font here. Bright pink. Kind of interesting. Thought that was pink. Well, this is even more pink. Nice kind of glam rock photo of Bowie. A little bit later than when this material is actually from, but it's still generally, I think, fits the album pretty well. Of course, you got track listing and everything. And you've also got a printed liner. The liner, even more pink than the back cover, somehow, if that's at all possible. It's just the same picture from the front cover, as you can see, but pink. Very pink. Quite pink. Pink is a space color, in case you didn't know. It represents the space age. Shout out to the Bowie movie. I've not seen it. But there it is. You do have the lyrics, which is quite nice, especially from an album from 1969. But that really is it. It's a pretty good cover. I actually do like it better than the original cover from the 1969 release, which was honestly a pretty bad photo of Bowie. Still don't really understand the pink, but it is very pink. So, yeah, pretty good cover. Now, if you made it to the end of this video, I would like to thank you for watching and say that I really appreciate it. Please, if you liked this video, be sure to like, subscribe. If you can, please do comment and tell me what you think about this album, or even just one of the songs on it. And I hope to see you in the next album review, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.